everyone, my name's Laura and I'm the Specky Seamstress. Welcome to today's video, which is in a different location because the lighting in my sewing room is just not playing ball. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the new Pattern Emporium sewing pattern, which is called the SeaChange playsuit and jumpsuit. I'm wearing the jumpsuit over the top of my Cozy Penguins jumper. Today I was a pattern tester for this pattern. I've already made 4. I probably will be making several more, and I have an affiliate link for Pattern Emporium, so that's why there's like hashtag ad in the details for this video, because there's an affiliate link down below, which means if you found the pattern through this video or through my photos on social media and you buy the pattern after clicking on that link, I'll earn a small commission. It won't cost you anything extra. It's a way of compensating creators who point you in the direction of new things. So, Pattern Emporium SeaChange jumpsuit. Jumpsuits, I think, incite fear into the minds of people everywhere because they're very difficult to get the fit right, aren't they? And I mean, when you go to a shop and buy one, you're going to be very lucky if it fits you well, which is why sewing our own things is so fantastic. And Kate, who runs Pattern Emporium, has a really helpful guide in the pattern that helps you determine your fit and what you might need to do from the measurements to change the fit at all. So she gives like the length of the crotch all the way down, at the front and the back, and the total, so you can get an idea if you're going to need to shorten or lengthen or whatever. There's also some really good advice on if you need to grade between sizes and options for the back if you need a little bit of extra wiggle room over wide hips, for example. So don't panic about fit, because every one of the testers who tested this pattern, and I think there were like 39 of us testing the pattern, have created beautiful jumpsuits and playsuits, and I think well over half of us have made multiple versions because we love it so much. So that's a good sign. The pattern goes up to size Australia 24, which is a 53-inch hip, I think. It's very free-flowing, so you take your measurements for this pattern from your kind of upper bust, really. That's the only place where it's fitted. Even at the bust there's plenty of room. It's designed to be a very free-flowing, Kate always says easy breezy jumpsuit, and I think that that's a perfect description of this pattern. So when I said this in a video recently, I'm not going to do as much testing this year. I've got lots of other things to do, but I saw this pattern and I couldn't get it out of my mind. I sort of kept looking at the like call out that happens and thinking, I want one of those. I could wait till it gets released. I want one of those. And in the end I put myself forward for it, having been convinced by Kate it was a nice quick sew, and it obviously was, because I made 4 of them during the testing phase, so it can't have been too stressful. I loved the version that she made that was just plain black. Now this pattern is designed for woven fabrics and lightweight, like drapey woven fabrics like viscose and viscose twill and tencel and modal and all of that kind of stuff. You don't want anything that doesn't drape well, because it is, you know, loose and free flowing, so you want a nice bit of drape. And if I had plain black viscose in my stash, I would definitely have made a long plain black viscose version to go with all kinds of t-shirts and jumpers and things underneath. But as we discussed in a previous video, plain black is not a strong point in my wardrobe, and this is the closest I had. So this is the first version that I made. It's in a viscose that I bought from the Textile Brothers, who are a Facebook shop based in the UK. I think they ship worldwide. Very affordable viscoses. I think this was £3 a metre. And this is the closest I had to a plain black viscose. Now, obviously, a free-flowing, full-length jumpsuit does require quite a bit of fabric, so that did limit me a little bit in my stash options with what to make. But this kind of gives the same vibe. Like, I can layer this over pretty much most patterned things. I mean, I'm wearing it over a penguin jumper, and I think it kind of gives the same vibe. I really like the idea of wearing this with a big hat, but I don't have a big hat and it's not summer here, so I'm not feeling too positive about that styling at the minute. But I do have a couple of like bucket hats and a red trilby that I'm really tempted to yeah, put on and style up and see what that looks like, because I think it will be quite a cool like style option. I just keep looking at myself and the cat who's running past me. So I made this one up in the full length. Now, when I signed up to do the pattern test, I knew there was a playsuit option as well, but I told myself that I would probably only make the long one. I now see why I don't film here. Fine. Yeah. So I made this full length one. It really doesn't take very long. It does require quite a bit of cutting space because this pattern has a centre front seam, and the pattern piece it's like 4 big pieces of fabric: a front left, a front right, a back left, a back right. So there's no seam at the waist where you kind of add to trousers. You could do that if you wanted. In fact, one of the versions I'll talk about, I kind of did do that. So yeah, you need a bit of room for cutting, but well worth it. Well worth finding the space, because it's just a really comfortable, and I don't know, like it somehow feels quite sophisticated, even though it is just a big rectangular jumpsuit basically. It has these straps and a kind of gentle V neckline, which is echoed at the back, which is slightly higher. I say that because this probably needs to be shimmied forward a little bit. There are loads of options. So I have chosen adjustable straps. So this has bra sliders on it, which means I can move the straps up and down depending on what I'm wearing it with, or what necklace I might want to wear it with, but also for fit. And it has options of the back as well. So this is the closed back. You just step into it, it's closed at the back, the facings are kind of a back piece, a front piece, but you can also do an open facing where the back is in 2 pieces and you like close the top with a button and loop, a bit like the Tilly and the Button Stevie top, if you have sewn that, or the Cashmerette Montrose. One of the views of that has a similar facing. And that is advised if you have bigger hips, because it gives you a bit more wiggle room to get the jumpsuit on. But there's plenty of room in here. I have a bigger stomach and I had no problems kind of getting this over my stomach. I keep looking at the floor, which is not ideal for filming, but it's kind of difficult when you're in a big flowy jumpsuit. I've been putting in pictures here. I kind of feel quite artistic, I suppose, and I keep wanting to kind of float my legs around to enjoy the swoosh of the wide leg trousers. There are pockets, so there are side seam pockets. I actually didn't add the pockets into this one, which I know is kind of quite a shock for me. I like a pocket, but because there's no waist seam and I'm quite fussy with pockets, I like to put them anchored in so I can really fill them up full of my phone and my keys and my purse and my snacks. So I chose to leave them out because I wanted to just see the fit of the jumpsuit without kind of pockets pulling it down. But I have worked out a way to avoid that issue in my last 2 versions. So the testing group, a lot of the testers are based in Australia, as the pattern company's based in Australia, and they were all posting like beautiful things by the pool and in like bare legs and bare arms and sunglasses. And I did my fit test in the snow, fit test pictures in the snow, and I knew that I wanted to layer this up. I absolutely love it with a big cardigan over the top. And I've been talking to you about cardigans in the last couple of videos, so you'll know that I'm a big cardigan fan at the minute. And I've been layering this up with one of my Marlowe cardigans or some of my juniper cardigans for an extra layer, with a layer underneath as well. And it just feels all cozy. It's really nice to have, if you've got quite a lot of layers on, I think it's really nice if one of those layers is quite free flowing, because it just makes the whole outfit a bit easier and a bit more comfortable. So this one has been a huge success. What I would say is my first version I made as per the pattern, but my next two versions I moved the straps inwards slightly, which Kate gives some guidance for my narrow shoulders, which just means that the top bit sits slightly nicer. I'm also currently not wearing a bra, which means everything is a little bit differently fitting. But yeah, so these straps are just ever so slightly wider, or they're not sitting wider, but it makes the front sit nicer when I've moved the straps in a little bit. So then I decided I would make a playsuit version. I don't have lots of 3-meter pieces of fabric in my stash. You're kind of looking at 3 meters of fabric for this. I make the size 20 in Pattern Emporium patterns. My bust is slightly high. I think my bust falls into the 22, but my upper bust and waist, and I think my hips are actually an 18, but my upper bust and waist are in the 20. And so I decided to make the playsuit because all the tester versions convinced me that I needed a playsuit in my life. Playsuit, big chunky tights. Now, if you guys have been following for a while, you'll know I like styling shorts with thick tights in the winter with a cardigan and a top. So it was kind of natural, really, that I would want a little playsuit, but I hadn't gone there in my mind, you know, I hadn't thought I wanted that. But what I kind of realised, I had a bit of a light bulb moment, I suppose, is that there were some fabrics in my stash that I didn't quite know what to do with, because I didn't want to make them into a top or a skirt, like not separates, but I kind of didn't want the fabric to be a whole dress. I'm hoping that that makes sense to some people, because I realise it sounds a bit weird, but the playsuit, because I can go shorter when I wear a playsuit, shorter than I would comfortably wear as a dress. So when I make shorts, they're pretty short, but because I'm wearing a big chunky tights and a big cardigan, and I think it kind of all goes as part of the look. So I can go shorter with a playsuit than I would as a dress. So it's kind of halfway between it being a separate and not a separate. That sounds ridiculous because it obviously isn't a separate, but it's not kind of like a full dress with big sleeves or anything like that. And yeah, so basically I had this fabric from Sew Me Sunshine, which is a viscose twill. I absolutely loved it when I bought it. And then I kind of, when it fell into that bit of my stash where like, well, I don't want a full dress in it, but I have 2 meters. I don't really just want a skirt. It's not the right kind of print that I want for a top. And I actually put it up for destash. So I destashed some fabrics recently and I put it up on Instagram as part of my destash, and nobody bought it. And it was sat on my sewing table after I went out to take the photos of this one. And all of a sudden I thought, yeah, that would be perfect as a playsuit. So I'm very pleased nobody bought it. I had to spend quite a long time pattern placing because of the centre front seam. I didn't want to kind of cut that print up with anything. But once I did that, it was a pretty quick sew. This is the shortest playsuit version. So there's 4 lengths given on the pattern. There's a short playsuit, a slightly longer length playsuit, a 3/4 length, which comes as tall, medium and regular. Tall, regular and short, or I think it might be petite, and the same for the full length version. So the first one I made was the full length version. I'm not a big 3/4 length fan on me. I want to be because I love other people's versions, but I never know what shoes to wear, so I don't ever make them. And then I just decided that I wanted more of the playsuits. I really liked that look of like layered up with a cute little playsuit on that was all kind of, you wide-legged, and I don't know, I absolutely loved it. So I made 2 more. I made one in a viscose twill that I bought from DIY or Dye Leeds, which is a Pigeon Wishes viscose twill. I like the viscose twill, so this is a viscose challis, this one, so sort of plain rayon standard, and then the viscose twills are just slightly heavier weight, and I like that for the play suits because I think it just gives a little bit of like body to the legs somehow, and I really like that. Now this one I just let the pattern print cut across the seams. I did make sure that there wasn't like half a big cat sticking out of the centre front seam or centre back seam, but on the whole they kind of stuck where they were. And what I did here was I added the pockets, and then I top stitched down the pocket so that it was attached to the front of the playsuit, so it wasn't going anywhere. And this makes it much more stable for adding heavier things like a phone, which is the main thing I want to carry around in my pocket, as well as my hands. So that's what I did. Now let me talk to you briefly about the hack that I did, because it kind of was a 50-50 success. So I'm going to pop in a picture here of me wearing it layered up with a cardigan, and I really like this look. But now I'm going to show you a picture without the cardigan, and I'm sure that lots of you won't see a problem at all, and I'm sure lots of you will immediately see the problem. So I decided that I wanted to remove the centre front seam on the bodice and hack in a waist seam for the trousers, mostly because I have a big 3-metre piece of fabric in my stash that has giant flowers on it, and I wanted to be able to create the bodice without any interruption of the big print, and then add the trousers afterwards. So I wanted to test this theory before I used the fabric. Not that the fabric was expensive, but it's a little bit precious to me in my stash because it's been there a while, and I didn't want to ruin it. So I tried it out with this fabric that I bought in Walthamstow. So I have my Walthamstow Market haul, which feels like a lifetime ago now. I think it was in 2019. It's a viscose. It was really cheap. It's maroon with navy polka dots, and I didn't think about print placement at all. And maybe this is where I've gone wrong. Maybe I should have thought a little bit, but I suppose the idea was to test how it looked, so I wasn't too concerned. And there was just too much jarring on the seam between the trousers and the waist, and also between the 2 legs of the trouser. So it was kind of like a big T across my stomach. And when I first tried it on, I was like, well, I've ruined this. This is no good. And I was kind of gutted because I liked the fabric more than I thought I did. Like, as the more I sewed it, the more I was like, this is really nice, and it will be so nice for a kind of slightly more autumnal feel, and like the darker colours. And yeah, I was absolutely gutted. Then I kind of pressed it and washed it and pressed it again and tried it on, wore it for a day. It's super comfy, which helps its case, but also I kind of got used to it, and I sent the picture to my mum, and she said I would never have even noticed if you hadn't have told me. It did remind me that sewists do get caught up in this whole idea of print placement in a way that 99% of the population don't, and that it doesn't actually matter if your print doesn't match up. I still think I'm probably going to leave this one to being only worn with a cardigan, but that's fine because I think that's the style I like with this pattern anyway. But you know, you win some, you lose some, and this is kind of a half win, half loss, so it could be worse. I'd love to know what you think though, because I then tried to look at the print placement, what it would look like on the large floral, and I just couldn't find a way that I thought I was going to be happy with it. But I do think it's a good option for some prints. So I've kept the pieces that I kind of hacked for it so that I can play around with it in the future if I want to. But it's super comfy, and at the minute no one's seeing me anyway, so it's kind of fine. There are other options available on the jumpsuit. So Kate has made a wider strap piece, and the bodice pieces accordingly for a wider strap. I actually don't find this strap too bad. This is a 15mm strap. The wider pattern pieces are a 25mm strap, but they'll cover your bra straps if that's what you're worried about. I think because I've been layering mine, I quite like the thinner straps because my bra straps are not on show anyway. There's also a bubble hem option, which is really cute. So for the longer length playsuits, you can add elastic casing and put elastic through the hem so that you get the kind of bubble, like harem pants type look. And I would really like to make a long version of that. I'm thinking about getting some plain black viscose in, but I'm not buying any fabric at the minute, so it'll have to wait. But I think that would be really cool for holidays, because the only problem with the really wide trousers are that, you know, if you were wandering along a beach, you'd get some sand on them, I think, and that's not ideal if you don't have many clothes for a holiday because you travel light. So the bubble hem would be a really cool option for that. And I would like to make one, but I don't currently have anything in my stash that I would use for that, I don't think. So we'll just have to wait and see. So that's the pattern. I've talked for quite a long time again, but I did have 4 to show you. I will probably be making more of these. They're just going to be super comfy, I think, and when we in the UK are returning to work post-COVID lockdown, I think comfort is going to be king. And I think long one of these with a cardigan on in my kind of casual office will be a really nice look for, yeah, comfortable return to work. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for putting up with my cat running up and down jiggling the tripod while she bounded in and out of the garden. I actually think I might film here more often because the light is much more consistent than in the sewing room, which faces like the other way in the house. So I'm hoping that you like this little setup with my cute little tiles from my travels around the world. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear what fabrics you want to use for this pattern and whether you're going to buy it. And do check out the affiliate link in the description box. Until next time, bye!